Hi, my name is Kara Strauss. I am from the Miami Tribe of Oklahoma, and I work at the Miami Center at Miami University in Ohio. And as a student affairs and higher education professional, my native identity is important to me for a lot of reasons. And my experience is a little bit different, I think, than most other student affairs professionals in that I work with just one tribal community, and that's my own tribal community, the Miami Tribe of Oklahoma. And we have a word in Miami, Ewe Milani. It means all my relations. And so when I am working with my students, they're not just students to me, they truly are my family. And that affects how I interact with them every single day. And so all of our students know that we're all related to one another. And that really moves us forward as a community in a way that I'm not sure could happen otherwise. And it's truly that community building that's important. And so our goal there is to do language and cultural revitalization work and then do educational outreach. And that includes with the 30 Miami students that we have at Miami University. And so my identity as a Miami person means that I'm striving to learn my language, my culture, my identity, and I share that with all of the students that I work with. And so I'm helping them to also go through the same process that I'm going through. And so at Miami University, we have the Miami Center there, and we invite people to come in and work with us on a regular basis. But what I would say to non-Native folks who want to come in and work at the Miami Center or work with any other tribal group is that it's truly a relationship that gets built. We are creating a Miami space, and when you come work with us, we are sharing our Miami identity with you. And so that involves a lot of things, including relationship building. And so when we invite people to come in and work with us, we truly want them to build a relationship and understand who we are before we're ever going to invite you in to work on projects with us. And so I would say be patient, keep coming back, try to understand culture as much as you can, and then you'll be invited in, and then you can work with us. And then it will be something that I think is probably beneficial for both sides. And that is what I would like to share with people more than anything.
Madawe. My name is Andy Riza, and I am from the Comanche tribe. As a student affairs professional, my native identity is important to me because it was always ingrained in me that I was going to be nothing but a statistic. Growing up, and part of my in my school experience would be being teased because even though I was excelling academically, I was always told that I would never grow up to be anything but a drunk Indian, and that's something that I fully believe is something that our young people are consistently battling with. And I want them to know that there is someone there that was successful, that is in positions of power, and that is an outlet that shows that you are capable of doing something that's so much more, no matter what other people are saying.
My name is Maya, and I'm from the Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe in northern Wisconsin. And as a student affairs professional, my tribal identity and my native identity is important to me because I made it through an institution that wasn't ready for me. And working with Native students at Stanford now feels like I have direct impact and influence on their experience there, because I know, even though years have passed since I've been there, I still know what they're going through, and I can help them navigate an institution that is inviting them to the table, but isn't quite ready for them to be there yet. And in the meantime, I want to be able to be that person to help them succeed, even in an environment that wasn't necessarily designed for them to succeed in. So.
Hi, my name is Heather and I'm Mohawk. As a student affairs practitioner, my native identity is extremely important because it has allowed me to create Indigenous spaces, not only for students, but sometimes for myself. I have spent the past 19 years really finding my voice and really growing into my skin and becoming proud of who I am. And that has allowed me to teach to come into meetings as my whole self, and to not be afraid to be that person that advocates for our students, especially our Native students, but also all other students, and to empower them to understand the importance of decolonizing the academy. These spaces were not created for us, and I think it's really important that we take the time and the ownership to explain that, be it through our practice, through our personal narratives, and even our scholarship. And so anything I can do to reclaim spaces and to truly bring us to the table has become so important. And it's not just for me and the 7 generations that follow, but it's for my children. And they truly are everything to me and what I do.
Hello, my name is Joshua Dockstader. I'm from the Six Nations of the Grand River, Mohawk Turtle Clan. Also, my grandfather is from the Oneida Reserve near London, Ontario. As a student affairs, Indigenous student affairs person, my identity is important to me because it allows me to connect with my students. It allows me to show the students that I've been to an institution before. I've been to a university as an Indigenous student. I know how they feel. I know that, I know the different procedures and protocols that they have to follow for different times in their life. It helps me be an advocate for them within the university system because I do have that knowledge and I do have those teachings that were given to me. And it just makes me a stronger advocate for my students. And my Native identity strengthens my work in higher education because it drives me. It makes me motivated every day. It makes me to break down barriers. It makes me want to challenge the system. It makes me want to do more for my students.
My name is Ariel Jetty. I'm a descendant of the Turtle Mountain Chippewa and Hunkpapa Sioux. As a student affairs professional or higher education professional, my Native identity is important to me because throughout my own education, there was this emptiness that I felt as a result of a fractured identity. And part of that had to do with the historical and even current silence of Native voices and identity, not only by the institutions and society, but also by myself. So it's important for me as a professional to create space for those voices and those identities to be not only heard, but celebrated, and creating a place for people to go if they need to just debrief on things or talk about their feelings or just get resources to help them get to where they want to be and to succeed in the field so that we can have more Native voices because we have history, we have knowledge that needs to be shared. So it's just important to me that those spaces are available and I want to be a part of that and give back so that students don't feel the way that I did and like many others do.
Hey Tanani, Nikki Amsa, Sandra Mitrovich. My name is Sandra Mitrovich. I am from the Taimaidu tribe of Bear Creek Rancheria in California and Yamani Maidu tribe in California. As a student affairs higher education professional, my identity is important to me because I believe in the idea of reciprocity and the fact that my stories and my journey make it stronger for me to bring that to my work and really bring the idea of community into higher education. And in that, my belief is that when we are working with students, empowering students through their journey, that we empower them by strengthening their voice, strengthening their family's voice, which then in turn strengthens the tribal voice.
My name is Sierra Green. I'm Nimipu, Nez Perce, and also from mixed European descent. And in this field, my Native identity is important to me because I was raised with these cultural values of harmony and respect and reciprocity, and I've come to understand that those are not at the foundation of mainstream society. And that makes my presence difficult because I'm not supported. But what my identity has and my experience has brought me to do is to find strength in that and find support and understand that sharing these values is important, and making these values prominent in mainstream society is important and needs to be heard. And there's other students like me who are experiencing the same challenges. And if we can come together and find that support for one another, then our values can begin to make the changes and emphasize that harmony is important and respect is important and resilience and reciprocity. With a capitalist society, like, it's really hard to think that we can make progress because it's not at the foundation of society. Maybe industrial progress is, but humanity isn't. And with these values at the core of what we do, that can drive us to be a more unified people. We're all people across the nation and across the world. So that's what my Native identity brings to the table, is these cultural values.
My Native identity is important to students because I've been where they're at. I've been in their shoes. I've been at the institution where they're struggling. I've been in a classroom where I have to put up with students saying really ignorant things. Usually when a student comes to me and says, well, my professor said this, or one of my peers said this, my professor didn't do anything about it, I'm able to relate to that because I've been through that. And I'm able to tease them a little bit when they're coming in to chat, and so I'm able to treat them like a family member, and I'm able to stay accountable to them. So that's one thing I always say. I'm not loyal to the institution I work for. I'm loyal to the community, and the students are the reason why I'm loyal to the community, because my relationship with them will always outlast my relationship with the institution.
My name is Symphony Oxendine. I'm from the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma in Choctaw, and as a graduate preparation program faculty member, my identity is important because I wanted to make sure that the future generations of student affairs professionals had met someone who was Indigenous, Native, and that they couldn't say that they didn't know about Native students. I want to make sure that they can meet our students where they're at, they understand their identity, and that they can serve the needs of our students when they're working with them on an everyday basis. I think it's really important also that we have research for future student affairs professionals and higher education professionals now. And also, because I'm a quantitative researcher, I wanted to make sure that we had a holistic view of not just qualitative stories, but also stories by numbers, and that data can tell the story, and that our stories are important, and those are who we are.
My name is John Garland, and I'm from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And my Native identity in my work in higher education is important because when students see me and get to know me, they see that my journey as a Native person may be different from other Native peoples, and that we have really great diversity within our group, and often that's not represented. And so I just really enjoy the diversity within our identity, and think that that's really important for our students to see and experience.
So my Native identity strengthens work in higher education because I share that with my students. And so it's been a struggle for me. I've worked there for about a year and a half. I'm also struggling through this process of coming to know who I am as a Myaamia person, to learn the Myaamia language, and I get to share that with my students. And they get to see that we are all working together towards an important goal, and that is, the continued sovereignty of an entire nation. And sharing that identity with my students is what makes it so important.
I believe that my Native identity strengthens my work as a student affairs professional, because I think it was ingrained into us as a community that we always have to prove our worth, and that we are always having to strive even harder to just be on the same level playing field as like the white colonial mindset. And I think that that was something that the colonial mindset used to their advantage, because now we're not only trying to work hard to go and do this concept of being the best that we can be, because we have to be, but we're also battling against each other, trying to strive for authenticity, always worrying if I'm actually native enough to be native, or doing second guessing all of our work. And I think that my native identity strengthens me in that, because we are actually on the grounds battling against that colonial mindset that's trying to divide us, and I get to be that person that is uniting our native peoples. My native identity is important to students because I see sometimes that students that are native are not easily recognized. Sometimes they are invisible at a school, and I think that is important that they know and understand that they matter and that they are validated, and then that we want you to be there. I am privileged enough to work with Native students, and I want them to know that they have this support and this family away from family, because we're such a communal mindset that we are doing this not only for ourselves but for our family and our future generations. And I want them to know that they have someone there that is going to be there as a support for them, so that they can help better their future generations as well.
My Native identity strengthens my work in higher education because it allows me to operate in consensus and to really bring people to the table and to use my voice as a way to give them a voice. I always share how I used to be an awful public speaker and I'd get so nervous, but I think by finding my voice and sharing my story, I'm really able to empower others. It's been an amazing journey. I was able to teach a class about Standing Rock, and it was the only course in the country, and it was all Indigenous. It was an Indigenous space, a curriculum. I had all Native speakers Skype in. It was amazing, and so that's been really important to me, and allowed those students to have that experience because they had never experienced anything like an Indigenous classroom, an Indigenous way of learning, and I think it was just transformative for all of them, including myself.
My Native identity strengthens my work in higher education. Because I think for a lot of folks, I can't speak for everyone, but for a lot of folks, it's a matter of walking into spaces knowing that you're not there for yourself or by yourself. You walk into spaces with your ancestors behind you and future generations in front of you, and that none of it is just because of you or for you or about you. And I think having a strong sense of my own Native identity makes me feel as though I'm emboldened and strengthened even on the really difficult days. And my Native identity is important to my students because they see something in themselves that I think they can lean on me for that support, and they know that I have been there, done that, I've survived that space, and I think that they can trust that I do truly have their best interests and their success in mind, so that we can all survive and go back to our communities and kind of pay it forward to the next generation.
My Native identity strengthens me with my work in higher education because I definitely believe in thinking about how my grandparents raised me. My grandparents raised me with a work ethic, but also I think an inherent knowledge of what the importance of thinking about future generations and providing for future generations. I believe that work in higher education is something that you're committed to, and you have to have heart, work, and passion, and it's about believing that there's a purpose in everything that you do, from just chatting on the phone with a potential student to working with a family and making sure that a student gets through their journey to their degree. My Native identity is important to students because I think students can understand the connection with me as it relates to if I can talk to them about tribal sovereignty, and I can talk to them about the importance of why bringing their ancestors to their journey through higher education, and I can make that connection, I believe that they feel a lot more confident and comfortable in the ability for them to succeed as well. And we do it together. So it's not me giving anything to students. It's about me working with students in partnership with students to strengthen their inner voice and to make sure that they feel connected, supported, and also feel that anything's possible. So.
My Native identity strengthens my work in higher education because it's unique. And with more diverse perspectives at the table, we really can come to solutions that are best fit for all of us and not just one race or one ethnicity or one type of people, not just those in power, but all of us. So my Native identity helps bring that perspective. We're 1 or 2% part of the population in America. In different fields of study, we're even less than that. In the STEM fields, we're 0.1% of the scholars in those fields. And so bringing our perspective and bringing our values helps support the students and really going to be who's our future leaders. If we can support them at their core, then they can bring their own knowledge and perspectives to the table, and we can really, again, start to be more unified and progress together.
So my Native identity strengthens my work in higher education because I don't want other students to go through what I went through when I went into college, that I felt like I didn't know how to navigate that space. I didn't feel like I had connected when I first got there. And so having that sense of belonging and having that community of support through different organizations, through fraternities and sororities that were Native, and through Native American student associations was important for me. And so I wanted to make sure that when I went into higher education as a professional, that I could provide those students as a compass to help guide them and navigate that structure so that they could be successful and be provided what they needed.